All right, what is going on, Ravens flock? And we are back here today with another episode of the Ravens Way 3.0. A lot going on this week. Ravens had their annual Liars Luncheon, which had a little bit of some theatrics to it. But nonetheless, Boss, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well, Marshall. This is a fun time of year to get our draft board set up, dig into the prospects. We did wide receivers on our second episode of this new podcast last week. I did edge rushers on Ken McCusick's Film Study podcast earlier this week, and now cornerbacks tonight. The three positions that I think they need. So yeah, it's a nice little distraction from a lot of the big picture stuff. It's putting a cloud over the organization right now.
Definitely. Unfortunately, if there are any Orioles fans, the game got canceled today. Was looking forward to that. And then the rain that came over was just a little sorrow ending to a really nice day outside. I thought it was really really nice out earlier. But nonetheless, let's dive into it. The Ravens held their annual pre-draft presser, Liars Luncheon, and my initial thoughts were they talked a lot about Anthony Richardson. They had like four questions asked about him. And every year, I feel like the Ravens give you a little tell about what could happen. It was we like big guys last year. They ended up taking Linderbaum. It was the year before was we like our guys, and they ended up taking Bateman. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like that potential tell, maybe not. Maybe it's a proxy for Will Levis. Maybe they really like Will Levis instead of Richardson. They're just trying to have someone hop him. Who knows? But overall, I really feel like we didn't learn a lot from the presser. I thought it was interesting that a reporter got interrupted and basically told to not ask a question about Lamar Jackson, and that was fun. I've never seen that before. I do find it hilarious that the reporters' questions are being censored in a way. But I guess that's what the power that they're given. But what are your thoughts, Boss?
So it's been an annual tradition, the Liars Luncheon, they call it. Don't really learn a whole lot. DaCosta throughout the draft process will give you 5 or 8 little tidbits, and the challenge is deciphering which one is the true one and which of the other 7 or 4 are smokescreens. So all this, the top 30 visits, who are they visiting with, who are they bringing in? It's a combination of players they like, players they just want to know more about, and smokescreen. So good luck trying to figure out which is which. But nothing to see. I don't blame him for not wanting to take any more questions about Lamar at that point. If nothing's going on, nothing's going on. They are, the handlers, the PR department is they're strict. They're strict. They flex their muscles for sure. Because I've been in some of those media gatherings, and not the best look, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Right, definitely. And speaking of that, the Ravens had have some visits recently with Anthony Richardson. They've had several visits with Quentin Johnson. At this point now, they had a private visit with Emmanuel Forbes. So hard to decipher, like you said, between all of the visits. Are they interested? Are they just trying to get about the player? Maybe a interdivision team is targeting that player, and they are trying to get identify
Yeah.
strengths and weaknesses. Definitely the right game to play. I the only thing I can really draw from that press conference is I really do think they are looking at the option of moving off Lamar Jackson and potentially getting that number 4 overall pick from the Colts. I think that's very much in play from all the things you can try and read, all the things you can try and hear. Um, so it's just a waiting game. We're still stuck in the same thing. There's not really much to add about Lamar Jackson. But Boss, do you have any other comments about the draft presser or anything regarding draft visits?
No, I mean the draft visits are, maybe it's beneficial to interview a top 5-10 prospect because he's going to become a free agent in a few years. And, evaluating football character is important. I do agree with that. Do they have the work ethic? Do they have the mentality to continue the development process once they enter the league? That different, I think, than off the field character. But that's a whole other story for a different podcast, maybe in the dog days of the summer. Overall, we're quickly sneaking up on the draft here. About 3 weeks away. I think exactly 3 weeks away, actually.
Yep.
So, it's interesting to see. I mean, DeCosta, I guess maybe one other takeaway you could have was when he was mentioning not having a lot of picks this year, and that's okay because they had so many picks in the previous 3 or 4 cycles. And I get that, but long run, you want to even that out. You don't want to have one class of 12 guys and one class of 10 guys and one class of 11 guys and then a class of 5 guys. It doesn't make the UFA, the free agency process, once those guys, reach free agency after the rookie contracts, it makes it more difficult when you have it kind of lumped together, some heavy years, some thick years, and then also some lean years.
Definitely. So yeah, I feel, I feel like we're in limbo right now. We're just waiting for the draft to come around. I feel like a lot of the signs point to us trading back from 22, unless there is a can't miss prospect that the Ravens are all over. So yeah, I think without further ado, we may as well dive into this corner class. Voss, give me your start me from the bottom. Start me at number 20.
Yeah, so I ranked 20, and I know I have one player you have high, a sleeper that wasn't on my list at all, so feel free to weave him in when you'd like to. Starting at 20 is Kai Blue Kelly, a 4-year starter, 8.73 RAS. He's not super high on my list. I think he's a developmental player. He plays a little bit soft, and the one knock on him that you probably can never improve is he has relatively poor recovery speed.
Right. I did not get that far in evaluation. So Kai Blue Kelly is not on my top 15 right now.
And worth mentioning, the top 100 consensus on The Athletic includes 19 corners. So the Ravens had picked 86. I mean, you're looking at corner probably 14, 15, 16, 17 at that range if you wait till the 3rd round. So you're not necessarily getting a top guy. Anyway, let's go to 19. Terrell Smith out of Minnesota, 5th-year senior, just a really solid player all the way around. Nothing stands out too much from what I've researched. One knock, potentially, he was a 1-year wonder.
Yeah, I feel like with him, 5th-year senior, the Ravens do have a history of taking players like that, but you always do want to draft players that are on the uptick, that are on, you never want to draft a player with the arrow down. So 5th round, 4th round, maybe they just want, I hate to say this, I don't want it, but maybe they want a high floor type player like that, very experienced. He probably spent those first 4 years playing special teams, so I'm sure that the Ravens have that in the back of their mind, but not for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think day 3 is a good place. You want to mix floor and ceiling, but you don't want all floor.
Right.
And I guess DeCosta's first draft, he was mostly all ceiling. Didn't work out too well, and he kind of shied away from that right lately. Anyway, moving on to number 18 on my list, one of the less impressive athletic testing days, but a good prospect nonetheless. Eli Ricks out of Alabama. He was a transfer from LSU, one of the top players that hit the portal last cycle. Press man corner with that Saban pedigree. We know Saban develops pro-ready pattern matching cornerbacks. So I think his speed probably caps his ceiling, but maybe a good backup player.
Yeah, I mean, 6'2", 188. Like you said, good at press. I feel like the low testing numbers really does hurt him for me as a prospect. I mean, he does he does play press well, and he does, line up and stays in phase okay, and he's kind of stiff a little bit, and then he's just, he's just like he just seems like a gunner to me. That's all I can think is he's like a special team gunner.
Yeah,
Go
if you compare him to Anthony Averett, who also came out of Bama, the Ravens got him in the 4th round. Averett was a sub 4.4 athlete, so you're trading off some technique, proficiency for some athleticism.
right. So he's an okay prospect, but obviously the ceiling feels very, very limited.
Very good. Next up on my list is a player who I know you like a lot, local product from the Terps. Tremendous speed. Jacorian Bennett, 9.58 on the RAS. He has a lot of tools. He's unrefined in some ways. I think he's probably, and I will mention, I think he's pretty good at the catch point, so that's a plus for him. I think he projects as a slot. I'm not sure if you agree or not.
I do think he's versatile. I think he can play the inside and the outside. This past year, out of 54 targets, receivers caught 24 for about 309 yards. So, not too shabby. I mean, not every corner is gonna lock down every play and allow less than 150 yards. It's just the nature of the beast. It's kind of like a batter in baseball. You swing, you either you're gonna hit the ball, you're gonna strike out. It's the nature of the position. But I think he's fast. I think he asserts himself in the run. One knock I do have is he needs to be a little more fluid hip wise. I do think, despite his extremely high mile per hour range that he clocked in at the Senior Bowl, which was somewhere in the 20s. I think short area he can be a little more fluid, but I think he projects well in the slot. I would agree with that. But I don't think that is necessarily to say he can't play on the outside. If I were to rank him, he would be my 15th best corner in this class, which is about where you have him. So not too much variation there.
Would you be good with him at 86?
No, I would prefer a 4th round pick.
Okay, fair enough. Number 16, a rare Caucasian cornerback, Riley Moss out of Iowa. Got you with that one, huh? He's physical, he's instinctive, he's very experienced, and he's athletic. 9.66 RAS. What's going on, G? You joined us at a good time.
Did I hear Caucasian corner? Troy Apke?
That's it. Yes, sir.
He can run.
Yeah, he runs. He's 4.4. Yeah. If you think about it, I think that's the least crossover Caucasian position in the league. I think you can think of a lot of players at every other position except for corner.
Right, man. It's like almost the stereotypical, the old school stereotype where black quarterbacks, white cornerback. It flipped, man. It's crazy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, have you guys dug in on Moss at all?
Just a tad bit. I heard he's very what's rare. The whole white guy cliche. He's a wily type of guy. Good motor. Every little cliche thing. But I seen a little bit of film on him, but I felt like he's just a solid, like when like a Jim Leonard. I'm not saying the same play style, but he brings that same type of impact from what I see for me.
Makes sense. Yeah. What do you think, Yuri?
I have not. He did not make my top 15.
Gotcha. Before we go to my number 15, though, let's all take a minute to give our kind of top line thoughts as what we're looking for out of a corner that the Ravens will add to the roster in this cycle.
I'm looking for someone who can do both. I'm looking for someone who can play on the inside and the outside. A slot only would be like a Tre'Davious Thomas
Hodges, yeah.
Yeah. Him, I feel like that's just limiting ourselves. I feel like we need someone inside, outside, can play the run, physical, can just a little bit of everything. I need a little bit of everything with a nice ceiling to him.
Cool.
So I feel like for our corner man, we're like in a Little Red Riding Hood situation where we don't want to. It's weird when I say we don't. You don't want a guy that's too small. You don't want a guy that's too big because him being too big, he's too slow to keep up. You just want a guy just right, right. So the dilemma that we're in right now is having we got Pepe on the roster, and then you got Jalen Armour Davis, and it's like you got a guy that's short and fast, short and quick. Not gonna say fast, just short and quick, and he can be in the sometimes be in the back pocket, but he'll get lost at times or whatever. He gets big boy, and then you got Jalen Armour Davis, where he's fast but just ain't quick enough to keep up. So we're like in a weird situation where, oh no, let's just rely on Kyle Hamilton to bail us out, even though it's like I said, we're in a weird dilemma in that situation, man.
Yeah, so I think Kyle Hamilton really impacts what I think the Ravens should be looking for in this draft cycle. There's quite a few prospects that are kind of that safety / slot hybrid player. Brian Branch is probably the best one of them. He looks like a pick in the 20s to 30 range, maybe. I don't think you need that player at all because you already have Hamilton. To me, I still think the Ravens need to add 2 corners. I'm not comfortable projecting Pepe or JAD to bump up a spot or 2 on the depth chart just because, day 3 premium position players, the hit rate on those is, 20%, 15%. So I think you need 2. And I think if we're talking top 15 or top 20, or you're talking about using the 22nd pick or even the 86th pick, I think you want a guy that can play on the outside because it is more valuable. So my list is definitely skewed probably against some of the slot body types.
Oh, you had something to say, Marshall? I wasn't sure. I didn't want to cut you.
No, I'm good.
No, so and that goes like the same here. I'd rather have somebody I can feel very confident in, the big body, like you said, Boz, somebody on the outside. We've seen so many times where we actually can go across the league where we find these safeties, these hybrid safeties that you can just slide in. I'm still like disappointed that, we didn't really give a chance that J-Ron Curse, when we had him on our team, we didn't give him a run, after we was free. And then look what he did and look what he became in Dallas. So, that would have saved a slot for, your favorite linebacker, Roquan Smith over there. It's just so many things that we could have done to alleviate and not cough up a second round pick. That was yesterday's news, but yeah, I feel like you can get away with like Ryan Neal would have been the perfect candidate with me.
Yeah.
I was pounding the table for a guy like him, guy that played outside, inside, obviously plays safety background. But like you said, you can literally find that guy. It's just, are you doing enough research for, as a scout or GM or whoever you want to say, to get the right guy? You're good. You got a pee over there. Look at him. He bailed out on us. Hell no.
Maybe his teleprompter froze up. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good class, though. I think it's a really good class if you're looking for an outside guy. There's a lot of long press man guys in this class for real. So I would love that. I think one of the top 2 picks has to be a corner, whether it's the first or the second. I could go either way, but I think you need to address both. So yeah, what's up, Alec? He's jealous that we got G on our show. So all right, let's go. I'm going to move on to my 15th ranked corner for the Ravens from a Ravens perspective, and it is Jalen Jones. He's a big, strong cover 3 corner. Needs some work on his technique. Pretty good athlete, not a 9.9, but he's up close to 9 on the relative athletic score. Jalen Jones, gentlemen.
Real quick, I grilled some chicken breast earlier, and I forgot to turn the grill off, so I had to double check on that one. But swinging it back here to Jalen Jones, I think he's super sticky once he gets his hands on players. I think he can run down the field in man coverage. I do think that he's not twitchy. He's not like a twitchy short area. I think putting him in the slot's a bad idea. I think he can play in cover 3 system. I think that's the best system for him. And I do think I think his feet needs to be better. I think he needs to be able to, these players with these ridiculous releases that are coming out now, wide receiver, I think that's, he kind of needs to be able to chop his feet better and match better.
Hey, so with that being said, Marshall, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to act like the the novice fan that really don't know some of these guys with the Jones guy. So you said he's faster than quick, right?
Correct. He's
All right.
long speed, but not short.
Long
short
speed,
area.
yeah.
So with that being said, and you say he's good with his hands off with press.
Like he's basically, if you think about it in the corner, like once that when a cornerback is running with someone and they have their hand on you and they're like hand fighting, like that's something he's really good at.
Okay, so all right, so that the reason I'm saying that is because I'm trying to figure out like just to get a good view of like how like there's different corner styles. Like Jimmy Smith was hella beautiful at doing that. Even though he had good footwork as a big ass corner, but the biggest thing that Jimmy did is if he could get a hand on you, it's not like holding, but basically he can basically fill you out to have a idea of okay, this route is coming, and then what I can do is I can put my hand in a better position to put myself in front of you, or just knock the ball out. And I think a lot of big corners, even Marlowe's the same way, where like he might not be twitchy, but he understands the feel of a player, which is weird, figuratively and literally the feel of a player by having a hand on him like that. So, yeah,
right.
That's all. I'm just wondering because he was a 8. How tall is he again? Like
6 foot or 6'2".
Yeah, he's good size. He's tall. Yeah, I think he's 6'2" in the 200s. I think the Tariq Woolen's success last year might encourage some teams to take some of the more project toolsy corners with the length and the speed higher, maybe than they have in the past. So we'll see how it plays out. Number 14 is, I guess, the opposite. Garrett Williams out of Cuse, coming off an ACL tear, had a good year 2 years ago. He's a little shorter, but he's strong. It's kind of like an off-man corner. He doesn't have – the big knock on him is his long speed, not the best long speed.
Right, yeah. So he obviously torn his ACL in the 2022 season, so maybe a little bit of – I think he could be ready for camp. I don't know, probably not. But maybe a little bit of the Ojabo effect to him. I will say that he has good feet. Like you said, he does play well in off-man coverage. He stays in phase well, and he is from my hometown, Charlotte, North Carolina. So maybe a little biased, maybe a little tiny bit biased. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like in a Ravens sense, he is an outside corner to me. I think he does have the feet to play it. But the torn ACL, that does scare me a little bit. But in a overall cornerback ranking, I think he would be probably around where you have him, 14 or 15.
Yeah, just to have my opinion like this is how I somewhat view it, and it's almost like an offensive line ordeal where you start from the outside and you can work your way inside depending on the situation at hand. I see him. If you're saying he has good quickness, good footwork, and all this, but the long speed is questionable, and he's coming off an ACL tear, that screams like, okay, we're gonna put you in the inside and let you work your way to the outside, just for comfort. Is he good at game tackling or just tackling? He's not afraid to throw his body around. That's a better thing I should ask. Is he or not?
I think he's a willing tackler. Yes.
Oh yeah. I just feel like they're gonna let him, be that guy to, bite some ankles real quick and let him work his way out. I don't know, maybe because that's how someone see these guys. You say he's a little bit smaller,
Just short. I mean, he's pretty thick, but he's a little shorter.
Oh, we're talking Megan the Stallion thick over there, Voss, or what are we talking about?
The next guy's pretty thick. Number 13 on my list is a guy that's higher on a lot of people's. Clark Phillips. He's probably he's built like a fire hydrant. He's like 5'8", but he's stout, strong. I think he's a slot only for sure. And the question becomes, how high do you want us to take a slot? He tested worse than I think he kind of looks like on tape, especially the agility. He was below a 6 on the RAS. So that's not great. But the big question to me is how high, can you put a slot only corner on your list?
I like him. My comparison for him was Ladarius Webb. They're extremely similar. Webb was also 5'9" and around the same weight, same 40 time. I mean, out of all the comparisons that I made earlier today, I feel like those two were the ones that lined up best. I think and you're going to see the same thing with a lot of corners in this class. Very, very scheme specific. You don't want to toss him in a scheme where he's going to be playing on the outside and jamming a receiver. You don't want that. But with the cover 4 quarter scheme and what's going on, Jason, I feel like with the cover 4 quarter scheme, with Miami's defense, with all the defenses, Rams, Cardinals, you put them in a defense like that, and you see players like Darius Williams, who are also 5'9", shorter, but work on the outside in those schemes. So I feel like he could be a player that can do that. Now, I mean, in a Ravens sense, I don't think we run a lot of cover 4. I think we want to make the most out of the money we paid the Marcus Williams over a cover 3 single high type system. But I like him. He was my 9th best corner, and obviously my comparison was Darius Webb. So
yeah. So for me, I see another guy I'll throw at you, a Desmond King. I understand when he was at Iowa, he was basically predominantly like a star player on overhang. Also, just played a lot of slot, I should say. But like literally, if you think about Desmond King, we still, I understand he had a punt return and ability as well. But Desmond King was just physical. He knew how to stay in hip pockets. Just complete all around player. He wasn't like super athletic. I think he ran like a 4.5 something in the at the combine, but just something you never had to worry about Desmond King. That's all I'm saying. I feel like that's the Clark Phillips type.
It was instinctual for sure, and I think Phillips has a good feel for the game. Moving on to the top 12, a late riser as identified by Mike Renner, who's one of my preferred analysts. Corey Trice, press man, just another one of these long wingspan, long levered, physical short tackler kind of player. Interested to see if he's somebody you think would be a value pick at 86.
Yeah, so for him, I think he's really competitive in phase. He's physical at the point of the catch, just kind of like how Marlon is. He's versatile. He used to play safety, then he converted to corner. So maybe you can have him do a little bit of what Hamilton did. Maybe you can have him. I mean, he plays mostly outside now, but I do think he can do both. He's 6'3", about 205 or so pounds, and he's also pretty good at man. So I think the zone part may be questionable, but you can teach zone coverage. So I like him. I think at 86, maybe a little rich for me. He'd be my 13th best corner in this class. I don't know where we're at now, but
I'm at 12, so 12. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like I would take a swing on him. Man, measurables are there. Everything about him was there, and the way we use corners now, like if this was Wink's defense, I would be scared shitless. But it's not. You know what I mean? But like for this scheme with McDonald, I feel like it would be more. It'll be a safe environment for him, and I feel comfortable. Like, hey, just keep your ass to the sideline and don't let nothing get behind you. You know what I mean? It's just I would feel safe. And you can't find 6'3" corners out there that run 4.4 like that. It's
Right,
hard.
and he's pretty good at squeezing players on the sideline too. So that's one of the strengths as well.
Yeah, that's really what Jimmy Smith was so effective at too, just using that length to disrupt the windows and squeeze them into the sideline, especially when you have, potentially the top one of the best safety tandems in the league. You add another player with that capability, you're really cooking on pass defense. Another player with the same style profile is Julius Brents, another safety conversion, condor wingspan, just ridiculous wingspan. He looks like he should be, flying above the clouds. Just rare tools, rare traits. I think he's probably best in zone where he can use that length to his advantage.
So I think Brent's is my 8th best corner. So I think we're 3 difference. But for me, the biggest thing is he's 6'2", and he is he's a heavier dude. He's not like these 6'2", 180 guys. He's like 6'2", probably in the 200s if I'm not mistaken. Shorter quickness stands out. Like he played in the slot at Kansas State. Like he went in the slot and stayed. And Graven said I'm a heavier guy too. He played in the slot. Like he can move inside despite that eagle. He can play in the slot. He's got this eagle-like wingspan, and I think he's sticky in coverage. He's got great acceleration. Maybe not. He doesn't have the long speed, but in a system like ours, where we're always gonna have a safety behind, that's not really your worry. I would jump for joy if he was at 86. I think from here on out, we're probably gonna do the corners if they were available at 86, I would take them and not look back. Unless we're like completely off on something. But he's a good corner. He's a good corner.
You got kids watching. That's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, like Julius Brent to me, just watching him in just the games that I was able to see and all that. It's just even a little film study that I was able to watch as well. He's for a big dude to be able to just, I would say sometimes be able to cut on the dime and just really sink his hips and just not lose the burst coming in and out, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, the 4.5, I can live with a 4.5, man. When you're that big, not everybody's gonna be running like a 4.4 or 4.3 like at that size. Yeah, what's up? I said something. What? That's pause worthy.
When you were that big, I said pause.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
go ahead.
That's pause worthy. You're right. Thank you. But all right. So when you're defined as a creature like that, and you're able to just, sometimes you just can't be able to do those certain type of things. See, I work my way around it. All right, but yeah, man, I'll be down with him. It's just like for me, like I've been saying for quite some time, that pick 22 doesn't exist to me. I think none of us believe, I think all of us is mutual about that. And they're the trade back game. So I feel like, Julius Brent is there for the taking. Unless the corner run starts really early, which there might be a chance, but I feel like that guy will be sitting there for the second round for us to take one. If not, we don't get one in the first.
Yeah, I think he's a player that I'd look at 86 for sure. Jason says the change of direction worries him, and I think it's just a natural, it's a natural concern for a guy that long levered. Next up, number 10. DJ Turner out of Michigan. Really good ball skills. He's on the skinny side. I think his defining trait is his makeup speed.
Definitely. I feel like that 4.26 does pop on tape. He doesn't get beat deep. The thing with him is that speed he kind of uses to overcompensate sometimes. And when receivers are running comebacks and dig routes, he's a little flat-footed, gets caught flat-footed, and those receivers beat him on that route. So, but the upside of that is he has incredible recovery speed. So if he does get beat deep on a double move or something, there's been times where he's gotten beat on some sort of fake out, and then he's back. He's back. So he's got great recovery speed, and as Graven said here, Voss has coined the word primo. I could be going to get gas at the gas station, and I'm looking for the primo fuel. I need cornerbacks and edge rushers out of fuel.
That's it. No, I definitely think I ran out of characters on a Twitter comment one day and changed it from premium to primo, and it's stuck ever since. I like it.
Man, like if you should start like a pizza shop or a pizza or even a pizza parlor and like Bob's Primo's Pizzas or something
My
like
bu- my buddy already has a place called Primo's. One of my best friends actually. Yeah, yeah.
wow, man.
Down in Glen Burnie. Check it out. Free
Wow.
advertisement.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, man, we definitely gotta come down there now. But yeah, man. So we're on DJ Turner, correct? Just to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you're like when you're that fast, you're allowed to make mistakes. That's my whole thing. I feel you know, like I said with McDonald's defense, like I'd rather have a trait guy that can develop, mentally due to just great coaching and just trial and error on the field. I understand, like, you'll be mad at that guy for like maybe like for 2 minutes, and then next thing you know, you'll forget about it. But like DJ Turner allows, he can accidentally bite on something and literally cover the ground right after, if not bailed out by the safety at the last second. So I'm down with it. I would, even though he's a smaller dude, but at the same time, like you just can't teach athleticism, man. I'm sorry. I'm a huge athleticism type of guy, like especially with the right coaching in hand.
Right. He's similar to Jonathan Jones. Jonathan Jones also had a ridiculous 40 and tested well. So I think that's a fair player to insert in our system.
I mean, at all the positions on the field, I think cornerback allows you the least margin for error for a below average athlete to succeed. I mean, there's some technique things you can do, but it's the most demanding position, just from that perspective. Up next on my list is number 9, a little bit of a polarizing project, Emmanuel Forbes. He's a string bean, one of the most slender prospects you'll ever see, 166 pounds, I believe. So this might seem a little bit off-brand for me, but I think tackling is, especially containing the run, is an important trait to look for in cornerbacks for the Ravens defense. I don't agree with paying or investing big-time capital in run-stuffing defensive linemen or linebackers or strong safeties, because I think if they are slightly a tick below where they need to be, they're in the trenches, so you're not going to get gashed necessarily. If you have a corner that's getting thrown on his ass on a swing or something like that, and it opens you up for bigger plays. So I'm a little bit lower on him, but tremendous certified ball hawk. Just really probably the best ball hawk in the class. I think maybe easily the best ball hawk in the class.
Right.
Yeah, so when I saw that 166, I was like, holy, this is like the bottom percentile, stay away from this guy type of prospect. But then I went through his film, and I think functionally he can tackle. I do think functionally he can tackle, but you don't want him playing press and getting run blocked. He will get moved off his spot, but navigating wise, he's a lot like Queen and Roquan, where they're not the biggest linebackers, but they can navigate through the trash and go and make a tackle. So I just feel like with us, though, he does have good long speed. I mean, he's ran a 4.33, so he is fast. But this is another off quarters, man, like quarters coverage type of corner. I think somewhere else he can be a great corner. I think Arizona is the perfect spot for him. Go to Arizona, go play zone, go play in some soft zone. Basically everyone in the NFC West runs zone schemes. So, go sift through the run there, and I think definitely the best ball skills in the draft. One of the best. He's had 33 pass breakups over his 3 years in college. I mean, that's pretty good. And obviously 6 of them for pick sixes. So I think for Baltimore is a no, but I think for some soft division, and that's not a knock on him, but for some soft division like the NFC West that doesn't run as much gap, he's a good fit. Just down here.
Let's just move on to the next corner because I don't like him. So I'm just playing. For real though, like for me, when you say Emmanuel Forbes, I instantly think of Najee Harris, like catching a swing pass and literally going straight at him, and it's like, God damn, it's over, bro. Like it's just like it just doesn't work. He maybe he'll prove me wrong. I hope so. I think he will, but he just doesn't fit in the NFC North. I'm the AFC North, man.
I mean, that's one complaint that we've heard from Ravens fans the last few years. There's too many missed tackles, too many. It's someone that's overblown. But I do believe. I mean, if you look back at the Ravens' history, all their best cornerbacks, they've all been really, guys that could fit the run.
Right.
All of them, every single one of them. So from Marlowe to Jimmy to Webby to C-Mac to all of them. So that's not my style guy. But, who knows? I wouldn't take him at 22 for sure, although he's getting maybe a little bit of first-round buzz. Later day, turnovers, interceptions are a great equalizer. They bring a ton of value, even if that's, even if you're not great in every area. So next on my list,
career in Kansas City, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Next on my list is another polarizing guy, Tyrique Stevenson, out of Miami. Started his career at Georgia. I think he has a ton of ability to be just really a lockdown player. He has a lot of the attributes and the mentality and the physicality, if he can improve his technique. So I've seen some that have him in their top 5 or 6, and then some people have him in their, in the 20s. So I don't know. Thoughts?
Garnett, see me off. What do you got, Garnett?
I was at Selma University of Miami. I'm just, I can't even call them. They don't deserve the title Hurricanes. So they're the Miami College of Miami until further notice for me. He reminds me of remember Artie Burns, like nice size, just has the tools, but like, are you going to be able to put it together in the next, in the big leagues? So that's why I said with Stevenson, it's like he's like it's everything just like it's not like oh my god and then drops. It's just like steady, but we don't know if it's going to have any kind of growth on like what Bob was like going at. And that's my biggest thing with him, man. It's like he's super solid, but like it's super solid is going to be, the plateau already. You know what I mean? That's what really bothers me about corners where you see guys that are super fast, maybe got a high PBU break or rate or interceptions or whatever, and then you got the guy that just steady Eddie as a corner, which is not bad, but at the same time, it's like, damn, are you already, plateaued? What should I, else suspect? That's all.
Yeah, I feel like he has a high floor. He's a high floor type player, maybe not the high ceiling. And he was my 5th ranked corner. I do think he can come in and be a starter. Maybe not never a number 1, but I think a number 2 is definitely in the cards for him. I think he's very technically sound. I think he can do both inside and outside, which is what I'm looking for in a corner. I do think he struggles in zone. And once again, that's coachable, so it's not really a big deal. But good at press man, decent ball skills, and I mean he's a solid number 2 type corner prospect. I don't think will ever be a number 1.
And I think that's fine. I mean, if you're drafting a guy on day 2 to be a starting CB2, that's great value. A lot of times you need to go reach up to the first to get a guy like that. The Ravens, a lot of times, the 2 first-round players on either side. So moving on up to number 7, Darius Rush, 9.8 relative athletic scoring. He's long, he's fast, good press man, he can click and close. The one thing maybe keeping him out of first-round consideration, hips are just a little bit tight.
Right. Garnett, you're clapping. What do you got?
That's my guy. How there's like 5 guys every year now. Like I toot my horn on. He's one of them. Physical, long, like everything of a boss says. He's a gambler, and I get it. I freaking get it. Some people are like, oh my god, the Senior Bowl, he jumped on a route, and then the dude went for like 30 and whatever. But the thing about him is, if you love Marcus Peters, that means you like him. Like, what I mean? I rather, it's not. That's how there's no give or take with it, man. So for me, I just everything about it. The 4.36, like really, you can see it on film where he, like I said, like we was talking about, he's a dog, always in the hip pocket. Um, just physical. There's a little run support here and there. Yeah, like playing in the SEC, you got to do a little run support here and there. And the one game, go watch the Tennessee game, and I feel like you'll see everything that you need to see. That's just me. Like him, a lot of people would like to look at Cam Smith, but like literally, Darius Rush was doing his damn thing as well over there the whole time. So yeah,
Right. So he had 18 picks and interceptions over 72 career targets. So people, once they look his way, he's making a play on the ball. So he's a playmaker. He's good. He's at 86. I think you run the pickup. You don't look back. Fast. He's a fast, long corner. Pause. And I think for the Ravens, he fits the Ravens model, the Ravens prototype.
Yeah, I think he'd be a perfect scheme fit. Before we move on to number 6, Marshall, let's give us your rundown on your sleeper out of UAB, Starling Thomas.
So Starling Thomas is my 10th ranked corner. And obviously UAB not a massive school, but he's the aggressive corner. He has the he didn't run it, but he did run a 4.28 that wasn't unofficial 4.28, not combine or pro day or anything. He has a click and close, maybe not the most like the 3 cone and like the short area stuff, maybe not the best, but as an outside corner, I really like him. He reminds me, he tested to the millisecond to the 10th of a second with Jonathan Jones. So that was my official Jonathan Jones of the class. I like him. If he's available at 86, I'd take him. If that's what I'm looking for a Jonathan Jones. So
who was a sleeper you ID'd at corner last year that turned out good too?
Damari Mathis.
Yes,
Damari
that's
Mathis.
the one. That's your niche.
I'm good at this shit. Come on.
That's your niche right there, right?
man.
Have you seen anything on Starling Thomas, G?
Yeah, I have. He's dope. I like him. Yes, sir.
No doubt.
You remember the play where DK Metcalf ran down Buda Baker?
Yeah.
He did that essentially with like another receiver that was like a 4-4 type guy, and then Starling Thomas
just
chased him down.
Yeah.
It was insane.
That's what really got me like, okay, damn, all right. If you see something like that, it brings you in to like wanting to see more of that player. Yeah.
All right, let's go up to number 6. Kelee Ringo. I kind of feel like maybe I have him too high, but I'm gonna leave him here for now.
You're good. Keep him right there. I'm right there with you.
He's a straight line guy. Just tall, strong, short arms, which was surprising. Shorter arms than you would expect. He's a little bit kind of mechanical almost. The good upside, though, is 20 years old. He's, I think, the youngest guy on the list.
So
good.
I'll say this real quick. For the people that love Tillman, Cedric Tillman, for some that's everybody's pride and joy is Cedric Tillman. For some reason, right? They love him, they respect him. They're like, oh man, he's so polished. He does this and that. But when you go watch him and Kelee Ringo go at it, Kelee Ringo had him holding his pocket the whole time. So we're talking about technique and all these things. I feel like that tape should be put on play. I know a lot of people go against the Jameis Williamson where Jameis Wilson ran the stutter go. I mean, dude, you just can't. You ran 4.36 and this dude ran like 4.24 or 4.25 or something. It's just sorry, you know what I mean? But other than that, man, I think what you were talking about, how strong he is, illustrated where he bodied Tillman to the sideline and basically had armbarred him, got in front, and basically ran the route for Tillman. And flawless tape, man. I can't say nothing else. That's all I gotta say.
So I'm I'm lower on Ringo than both of you guys. He would be around number 10 or 11 for me. Um, Outside of the press technique that he has, which is really, really good, top 4 or 5 of the class in terms of press. I think that in phase gets a little lost. Gets a little lost in phase. I think he's a lot like Tyreek Woolen, honestly. Like, he needs to go to a cover 3 system where they can coach him up in zone, and he's allowed to use his long speed to recover on those deep out blues. So he's a good run defender, though. High floor player. Great in run defense. So for the Ravens, I think cover 3 we do run a lot of. So
He's been mentioned as a player that may transition to safety over the long term. So we'll see. Cam Smith is my 5th. He's seemingly catching a little slide, but I think he's got a lot of ability. Also a Maryland native, but he's instinctive. I thought his inside-out versatility. Missed tackles would be a concern with him.
Right, and that Tennessee game where he did a good job against Hyatt, but here's the thing: a lot of people were like, I'll say a lot. It had me thinking like, okay, he did a good job against Hyatt, but like before they got until like the 30, to the red zone, whatever, he was playing like 13 to 14 yards off Hyatt the whole time. So it's like, okay, are you like, how fast are you? Like, you know what I mean? That was my biggest worry about it. And here's the thing, like, this is why I say 40 times are so weird to me, because you have time to like actually become a track star, practice on it. But when you watch the game, he's quick. He's fast enough in the game. He's quick, and he's not afraid to put his head down and bang some people up. So that's what really I just don't know. Like, he'll fit perfectly in a Ravens uniform. He'll do his part, obviously due to scheme. But it's just like, if we were to play Miami, and obviously they got 2 speed demons, like, and we're in a situation where we're trying to roll over a safety, can you not get dusted long? And can you hold your ground for that safety to come over there and help you out? That's my whole biggest worry about a Cam Smith, but that's all.
yeah, I feel like the long speed is missing with him, but he does have good acceleration. He does good ball skills. So maybe my comparison for him was Marcus Peters. I do think he does have that play style to him. I feel like he does lose balance sometimes. I do feel like he gets a little inconsistent here and there. So kind of like Marcus Peters, he's going to have to make a career out of being able to play on the ball, being able to attack the ball. In a Ravens uniform, I mean, I guess in a trade back scenario, not necessarily at 22. He was my 6th ranked corner. But yeah, he does show some, some flashes, some redeemable flashes in zone coverage. I don't think it's a lost cause in terms of his coverage ability. He is an incredible athlete, like he went out and tested as. So, not to say that he can't develop, but I think as a day 1 starter, you're expecting him to make plays.
Sounds good. All right. I'm ready to move into the top tier. I think it is a 4-man top tier. I would be very excited about any of these players at number 22, and I think they should be a strong consideration. The Ravens shouldn't just take best player available from any possible position and end up with an offensive guard or something that's not a valuable pick in the first round. But if one of these players is ranked higher than the top wide receiver on the board, I'm totally good with taking them. So number 4 for me is Joey Porter, the son of the dirty former Pittsburgh Steeler who tried to injure Todd Heap and fight Ray Lewis on the bus. Anyway, 9.72 RAS. He's got some crazy long arms. He's a press man kind of guy, physical player. I think he's got a pretty good feel for zone as well. And what I do like about him the most, maybe, is just kind of he plays with an edge. And if you're going to lose Marcus Peters, I think you need to add another dog or two onto the defense.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that he has the alpha mentality to him. He has that violent hands, the being able. I think he's the best press corner in the class. I don't think that's too crazy to say. Probably between him and Banks. But overall, he's a day one starter. I think he comes in easily, plays the number 2 corner role next to Marlon Humphrey, and does well. I don't think he's not a liability. He really doesn't have a lot of problems, and he's really good at anticipating though. I think that's another thing I wanted to add was he really knows how to anticipate at the point of catch.
Yeah. So for me, when it comes to what's his name? Just to make sure, Joey Porter Jr. It's like if I'm trying to think of that 6'2" corner that the Chargers have, but I feel like he played. No, I would say Chargers. Yeah, Chargers.
Michael Davis.
Yeah, same type of build, same type of genetic makeup, but I just feel like he's just polished, way polished more than Davis. I don't know if you actually watched Davis when he first came. I think he came out of Penn State, if I remember correctly. If I'm not losing my marbles. But it's just the same type of feel. Like when I don't know why I watched him so much for some reason. I was always enamored by him. But same type of guy, physical. I feel like you can run game, you can support the run game. I feel like a lot of hand fighting. He wins those battles with the hand fights. I feel like he'll be solid in a Ravens uniform, man. It's not really much to say because I think you guys hit it on the head, but I'm down with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down with it. I think you can, he's got CB2, the floor of a CB2 and the ceiling of a CB1, and that'd be a great pick at number 22. You take a players like that, that's a tremendous value all day. Number 3 on my list is Deonte Banks. Scored a perfect 10 out of 10 on the RAS. So he's got it all. He's got the agility, he's got the explosion, he's got the speed and the size, all 4 characteristics. And just the player I think that's probably going to be better at the next level than he was for the Terrapins. Really, really impressive mirror ability is probably the biggest takeaway.
So he's my cornerback 1.
I respect it.
I'm very big into the trade space, and last year I feel like with Booth, the injury medical thing kind of ruined my number 1 Andrew Booth corner thing. But I'm not like any of these other GMs that stay away once they miss. I'm back and ready to swing again.
Shoot or shoot.
Exactly. So he's excellent in press. He's really, he's incredibly fluid. He can recover easily. The only knock on him is that when he's in man coverage on fade routes, he doesn't get his head around. That's a very coachable thing to have a player turn their head around. So he scored a perfect RAS. He's got theoretically, if RAS is what's term ceiling, if athleticism was what term ceiling, he has the high ceiling of any corner in the class. And also the high floor too. He can come in and be a impact corner right away. So he's my guy. He is my guy.
Who's your comp?
I think Antonio Cromartie was my comp for him.
You talking about DRC or was it DRC or Antonio Cromartie?
The Florida State one, the prolific Florida State prospect.
I can't even say nothing because me and him, that's my big bro. And I talked to him on the regular, so I came and that's Miami. That's or whatever. Anyway, So when I watch, he's just smooth, man. I think he's my number 1 corner to me as well. To be honest with you, it's just I feel so safe with him. It's weird. Pause. That sounded so weird. Like yeah. You know what? I feel like I feel like you can't go wrong getting that guy on your team. I don't like. You know what I mean? Is the athleticism is there, the tape is there. It's like you got this, and it all winds up together perfectly. And I know a lot of people were questioning the ball skills or whatever, but depending on where you're playing at or what school you go at, like Alabama, perfect example. Alabama is known for playing the player instead of playing the ball, right? So when you see somebody like a Trayvon Diggs come out and like, damn, like I didn't see it in college. Well, they were told to play a certain way in college. So I think that was the biggest thing. Well, he does the ball skills. We don't know if he has them. And I feel like, him being able to have that freedom in the next level, depending on, especially if he is up in our scheme, which I think he'll probably be off the board a little bit, before 22. But I feel like he has every tool in his bag. And then if he ends up being around the right DB coach, good DB coach, man, the sky's the limit. Unlimited potential.
Right. And he did run basically every scheme you could ask at Maryland. So
yeah, I think ball skills was a knock on Marlowe coming out of Bama. And he kind of struggled with that for a year or two. And he's been one of the best corners in the league for about 3 or 4 years now. I heard something interesting. I don't recall where, that when you're in trail technique, and if you miss time turning your head, you're screwed. So if you turn your head early enough, you're good. You can make a play on the ball. But if not, you're better off playing the man, because if you turn your head and we've seen it. I mean, if you turn your head at the wrong time and you lose track of the player, and that's a little bit early, that's when you really get into trouble.
I'll say this to help you out, Voss. The perfect player, if you ever get bored, go watch Darius Slay. Darius Slay, he mastered the trail technique because he knows he had the long speed for all his career to literally, figure out the route and then try to get on top of it as fast as possible. And literally, I think it's like Aaron Rodgers throws where it barely just missed his hand. Because of the fact it had to be a damn near perfect throw in order for that guy, for Slade not to get his hand on. So I'm glad you said that, man, because literally trail technique is like you said, like if you don't get on top of the route fast enough and turn your head, you missed out on a free bag, man. If not, you look bad even though you played it perfect.
No doubt. I mean, I'm all about Banks at 22. I have him higher than some of the receivers that people are excited about at 22. And if the board shakes out a certain way, I wouldn't be opposed to moving up a few spots for him. I know, it's thought to be a bad idea to trade up unless it's for a quarterback, but you got to come out of this draft with another core blue chip player with that first pick. So to me, he's kind of in that tier of blue chippers, maybe probably one of the last ones. Anyway, let's move on to the number 2 guy, Devon Witherspoon. He's probably a self-made guy. I mean, he came in to college with very little pedigree out of high school, and built himself into a very instinctive zone corner or zone, in zone coverage. But he's a big hitter and he has ball skills. So he might not be the most athletic, although he did, I think, clock a sub 4.5 at his pro day this week. But he's probably a guy that, he's right up John Harbaugh's alley, I bet. Yeah,
so I feel like with him, he's just like a can't miss type guy. He's a come in, start. He can start at cornerback 1. He can start at cornerback 2. He's physical in the run. Probably the best man corner in this class. Maybe not as high level of a zone corner. Sticky, anticipates routes, anticipates when the quarterback's going to throw the football. He was my number 3 though, behind Gonzalez and Banks. But that's not a knock on him. It's just a really good corner class. But I like him at 22. You run the card up. I don't think that's too much of a question.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at Witherspoon whatsoever. You know what's crazy? I remember like when the projections were coming out for him and all these things. The only knock that I was thinking like, oh man, he's like 6'1.5", 6'2" corner, and then next thing you know, he's 5'11", which is not bad. But I'm like thinking like, damn, some things just it's like lying on your dating app, man. You say you're 6'1", but you really like 5'11.5" with shoes on. But I don't know. But other than that, man, he's cool. I'll be safe. It's like how every year we do these things and we're looking at corners. Like, damn, well, all right, I'm cool with him. Like, you know what I mean? It's like he's well rounded. Like, you just can't get mad at it. You might have wanted that receiver, but at the end of the day, you're gonna be in like week 12. He's gonna be making that play for you. You know what I mean?
I think you definitely run the card up. But out of the big four, Porter, Banks, Witherspoon, and Gonzalez, I think he probably has the lowest, maximum ceiling. I think the other three guys are, a little bigger, a little faster, and just I think, and they don't do shadow. They don't shadow mirror receivers very much anymore. That was more of a thing maybe 5 years ago. The other three, if they hit their ceiling, those are guys that are shadowing. I don't think Witherspoon necessarily is. But anyway, let's move on to the top guy. On my list, I think he's a consensus top guy, Christian Gonzalez. Also 20 years old, so he's still ascending, hypothetically. They're really just probably the most smooth athlete out of this whole group with just really rare, like agility, change of direction type of stuff.
Yeah, he's extremely fluid, great change of direction, and he's a can't miss prospect in my opinion. It's like he just comes in day one. I think my comparison for him was somewhere between Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay, some sort of splice. Those two had a baby, and that baby is Christian Gonzalez.
Hey, yo.
So
right.
he's good. He's good at football. He's just good at football. He's fluid. He doesn't get lost a lot. He's high IQ in zone. It's good. He will not be gone around our pick. He will be somewhere in the top 10, without a doubt. Then yeah.
I feel like he's the Jeff Okudah of this year, where it's just everything that's the best way to put it. 6'1". I know he ran like 4.3, barely like 4.3 now, 4.38 or whatever, but just super smooth athlete, like you guys are saying. I think he might have better ball. Well, I feel like he has better ball skills than Jeff Okudah coming out. But just everything about it is polished, man. It's hard to find super polished corners that had to smooth footwork and then just do everything flawlessly. And when it comes to man-to-man technique, so, but yeah, and then the 20 years old, Voss, I didn't know that, so that gives me joy to see that he has not grown. He does not have his grown man body yet, so that's scary, man. That really is.
Yeah, I think there's some rumors that he probably going to be the second defensive player off the board after Will Anderson. So, he could go top 5, top 6, top 7, something like that. Apparently, at least, there's potential. He could be the top defensive player. So, anyway, I think it's a really, really strong crop of cornerbacks. It's a good year to need two because I think they need two. But I know some Ravens flockers would not be pleased if they took a corner instead of a wideout with their first pick, whether that's at 22 or 35 or wherever it is. I would be. I really think corner, as far as if you're going to line up today to take on a team, you need a corner 2 and a corner 3. And I would just want to wrap at this point. I know a lot of people are excited that the offense could hypothetically be better. You're returning everybody, but hypothetically upgrading the wide receiver room. That doesn't get you anywhere if your pass defense is taking a hit at the same time. You're still not stacking up against the Chiefs and the Bills and the Bengals and the Chargers and the Dolphins and the Browns and all these other teams. You got to have it, but you got to have both. You got to find a way to get both. DaCosta needs to work the cap or pick for need or do something because you need a strong pass defense and a strong passing offense if you want to start winning some games in the playoffs.
Right.
Garnett?
I'm right there with you on that. I think the Chiefs really showed us a great formula. I think we all knew the formula, but I think it was almost an in theory formula where a lot of people thought like, oh man, you need this guy here, you need that guy here. Then you watch the Chiefs with a young corner core that actually got better down the stretch. You know what I mean? Going against Philadelphia, I mean, Philadelphia did some things, and I understood, a couple of drop balls, but they never like folded. You know what I mean? L'Jarius Sneed, he's coming on to be a top corner in this league, and I think the kid, the HBCU kid, he was able to do some things out there as well. But yeah, man, I just feel like you got to have a solid secondary in general to just survive in the NFL now. It's no longer I need the strongest box players, and I need a Ray Lewis, or I need Ed Hartwell right beside Ray Lewis, or I need or Bart Scott, just a whole bunch of guys. No, it's just you need a solidified secondary like Voss is going at, and receiver is really you just need a legitimate number one, a legit one, and then everything else can follow after that. But secondary, you need backups after backup, to be honest with you.
Definitely.
You gotta bump these guys down the list. You gotta bump Pepe. Is not CB3. He didn't show enough. Neither did Armour Davis, and Stevens hasn't shown enough to be CB2. You bump those all 2 spots down on the depth chart, and you're in good shape.
Yeah.
Definitely, I agree. I think a Rock Ya-Sin plus a Darius Rush at 86. Brents, Ringo, Jones, Bennett, some sort of mix plus that, and like I said, Rock Ya-Sin. I think you're feeling okay at the cornerback room. You're deep. I think it's interesting to compare cornerback 4 versus wide receiver 2 in this class, like a JPJ versus a Quentin Johnson. It's a pretty tough spot, but it's also a good spot to be in. So hopefully the Ravens are in that spot come draft time. Fellas, you got anything else to add before we click and close out of here?
Just to tag onto that, I think at the end of the day, you have to pick what's more rare. Is Quentin Johnson's skill set more rare, or is Porter Jr.'s skill set more rare? I think it's Porter Jr. personally. So to me, you never you're not gonna build a bad roster making efficient decisions like that.
This is how I always go at it. For me, get what you don't see every year. That just is that simple. Like you're
100%.
you're not gonna see a Deontay Banks like walking the streets on a regular. You're not gonna see a Julius Brent that's damn near basically 6'3", but move like a slot corner. You know what I mean? Just guys like that. Quentin Johnson is the only guy in this draft, or I'll say, where you don't see a 6'3" receiver that can move in and out of the brace. But the biggest thing is like he body catches, right? So that's the biggest knock, in the fact that really disturbs me to the point where, okay, you go get that corner over him. If he was flawlessly catching the ball, we can't even have him in the conversation, because he'd probably be gone in the top like 15 as a receiver. You know what I mean? So go get the corner that physically, like, I never seen. Like we can say I've never seen a guy like this, but I really haven't seen a guy like this, and I believe I can coach him up to be something that we never had, basically.
No doubt. I think Johnston is probably the one, but if it's Addison versus Porter or Addison versus Banks, I think that's an easy decision to go with the corner there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Addison, enjoy your
You
career,
see Addison every year. You'll see a fucking Addison every year, bro.
Yeah, and a Flowers and a JSN even too. So yeah.
Definitely. But Garnett, appreciate you for joining this week. As always fun to chop it up with you. Draft, anything else, but appreciate appreciate everyone for joining. Manuel, Engraven, Huddle Up Films, Jason, Alec.
Yeah.
And Manuel, of course, Manuel. It's been a while since I've talked to Manuel. But next week we will be discussing the top 20 or so edge rushers and whatever happens between now and then. But till next time, see ya.